Welcome to the Instagram stories for Wednesday, March 26th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. There is a huge amount of social media news to talk about today. For instance, do you remember the feature on Instagram where you could add notes on Reels that other people could see and reply to? However, they're continuing to add features. Are you familiar with Reposts on TikTok or Twitter? Instagram is soon going to be rolling out Reposts for Reels and Posts. So that's interesting. Additionally, YouTube is going to be changing the way it counts views on Shorts, and Threads is giving you more options about how you use the platform. You can now choose the following tab to be your default, and you can limit who can see your replies and who can reply to them. We're going to be covering all of that and more on today's episode, but first, a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's dive right in, talking about content notes. If you have not used content notes before, they were like the notes that you have in your Instagram DM box, where only people who follow you and you follow can see each other's notes, and you could add notes onto Reels and other posts. You could have sort of a public conversation, but only with people who you knew and know you, so you could keep that conversation somewhat private, if that makes sense. The head of Instagram announced that they are going to be removing content notes. I'm going to let him explain.
We're going to turn off content notes. If you don't know, content notes are the ability to add a note to a photo, a reel, or a carousel on Instagram that your friends can see but not everybody can see. And we launched it a few months ago in an effort to try to make Instagram more social and more fun. And in practice, it just wasn't adopted by that many people. And we know Instagram has become too complicated over the years. And one of the ways we want to address that is being willing to turn off features that aren't used by enough or that many people. And content notes is one of those features. We're going to continue to explore more ways of making Instagram fun and social and bring friends out in the experience, but content notes isn't it. So more things to come in terms of new features, but also in terms of things that we turn off. See y'all soon.
Let's talk briefly about what he said. Since not many people are using this feature, it does cost Instagram time and resources to keep that feature part of the Instagram app. But if not many people are using it, at some point you have to realize it's not worth it, and that time and energy would be better served focusing on other features of the app that would actually move the needle and make people want to use Instagram more. Since we are talking about Instagram taking a feature away, let's talk about a feature that Instagram seems to be bringing very soon. If you go to help.instagram.com, there is now an instruction page about how to repost a reel or a post on Instagram. Now, historically, Instagram has not given you the ability to repost anywhere on the app except to stories. If you see a feed post or a reel that you like, you can repost it to your story, but you cannot repost it to your feed. That's in contrast to some of the other platforms which have always historically allowed you to repost, like Twitter and TikTok. On the help.instagram.com page, which I will link to in the show notes, there are instructions about how to repost public reels or posts on Instagram. However, it says at the top, this feature may not be available to everyone, which makes sense. It seems that Instagram is going to be rolling out slowly. The page explains that when you repost, your followers may see that you reposted in their feeds, and reposts will appear in a special tab on your profile. According to this help article, when you do repost a reel or a post, you have the opportunity to add a thought, and you can type something in which will bubble by your profile picture in the bottom left of the reel. Here's a question. Can you repost a repost? I like where you're going there. Inception level thinking, and I respect that. The article has a note, only original content posted by the original creator can be reposted. So therefore, you cannot repost a repost, but you can remove a repost by tapping on the repost icon on the reel or long pressing on the repost itself. So if you changed your mind and you don't want to repost that anymore, you have the ability to take it back. I will link to this help.instagram.com article so you can take a look for yourself. And since we're talking about Meta news, let's move over to Threads. Meta is now allowing Threads users to set the following feed or any custom feed in Threads as the default. Previously, when you signed into Threads, you had only the For You as the default feed. This is where Threads would be suggesting content that it thinks you would like, but now you have the opportunity to change that default feed to only be people who you follow or some other custom feed that you want to create. Additionally, Threads is getting more options for managing how people interact with your post. You can now limit replies and quote posts to just your followers. So if you are dealing with a spam issue or harassment, you have the opportunity to limit that. Meta is also testing the ability to add up to 10 topics to your bio, so you can list your favorite communities or interests for others to see. Drafts will also include prompts to suggest a trending topic. A Meta spokesperson commented on this saying, quote, "According to our internal data, posts with tagged topics generally receive more views than those without one, making them an effective way to help you reach more people," end quote. Let's do one more piece of meta news before we move on. A couple of minutes ago, I was talking about content notes. Those are notes that people can add onto posts and reels, but Instagram is taking them away. Meta has announced that they are rolling out community notes across Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Very confusingly similarly named, but completely different. Community Notes is what is going to replace Meta's fact-checking program, which originally launched back in 2016. Meta explains that, quote, "When we first launched the fact-checking program in 2016, we were clear that we didn't want to be the arbiters of truth and believed that turning to expert fact-checking organizations was the best solution available. But that's not how it played out, particularly in the United States. Experts, like everyone else, have their own political biases and perspectives," end quote. Meta's new approach is similar to what X does. Community notes will allow contributors to write and rate notes, which, quote, "won't be published unless contributors with a range of viewpoints broadly agree on them," end quote. Meta is also using X's open source algorithm for its rating system. Community notes will have a limit of 500 characters and will need a link backing them up. Once community notes become visible to users, they won't have author names attached to them to start. Meta said, quote, "We want notes to be rated based on whether the context they add is helpful, not on who wrote them," end quote. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the YouTube team is going to explain how they are changing view metrics on YouTube Shorts. Stick around. Welcome back. Let's dive into some YouTube news. If I was to ask you how YouTube counts a view on Shorts, what would you say? It's kind of a tough question. Typically on this show, I play news, but for historical context, I'm going to play an old clip from last year of YouTube explaining how they count a view on Shorts. Again, this clip is old.
What actually counts as a Shorts view? I'm Renee Ritchie, I work at YouTube, and we got you.
What we try and do with a view is have it encode for your intent of watching that thing so that creators feel like that view has some meaningful threshold that the person decided to watch. There's a bunch of different logic behind the scenes that goes into this, like whether or not you explicitly took an action to watch it is different than if you found it in a feed, and how much time you spend on it. All that goes into whether or not the sort of view threshold is met. We don't publish it because every time we look at a new surface or there's some new interaction, we may tweak that. We don't want people to try and game it.
Well, that's a vague, confusing answer if there ever was one. Here is an updated answer from the YouTube team explaining about how they are changing the view counts for Shorts.
What's up, insiders? Today, we're talking about a change coming to the way we count Shorts views on YouTube. First, some context. As short-form video continues to grow on YouTube, we know that creators want a deeper level of understanding of how their short-form videos are performing holistically, including when they're posting across multiple platforms. Historically on YouTube, a view has been counted after a short is played for a certain number of seconds. However, we've heard from creators that they want to understand how often their shorts are seen. So, going forward, views will count the number of times your short starts to play or replay with no minimum watch time requirement. We'll keep the existing Shorts view metric, which will now be called engaged views, in YouTube Analytics in advanced mode, so you can see how many viewers chose to continue watching your video. So what does this mean for you? From March 31st, 2025 onwards, you'll start to see the new Shorts views metric applied wherever Shorts views are shown on YouTube, which may be higher. This change will not directly impact creator earnings or how creators become eligible for the YouTube Partner Program. Both will be based on engaged views. The goal is that with this deeper understanding of your Shorts performance, it will help you inform your content strategy, better represent your work to potential brand or agency partners, and give you a fuller picture of your overall reach if you're posting on multiple platforms.
Okay, so it seems like YouTube is simplifying here. They're just looking at how many times your short starts to play or replays, and you don't need to have someone watch for 3 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever in order for it to count as a view. Lauren from the creator team gives a little bit of Q&A, so I'll let her do that.
Now let's cover a few questions you might have. First, how can I see views and engaged views in one place? You can see these in one place by setting your custom view in advanced mode. These metrics sit in different tabs in YouTube Studio and Analytics, both visible on Studio Mobile and Studio Web. Views can be located on the Shorts Overview tab, and engaged views can be found on the Shorts Engagement tab. Now, how should I compare performance between my Shorts uploads? There are 2 ways we recommend you compare performance between uploads. If you want to compare against Shorts published prior to March 31st, 2025, use engaged views for a fair comparison. You can see engaged views for a single short under the Engagement tab in Analytics. You can also access engaged views in advanced mode. Note that engaged views are available at a channel level to allow historical channel comparisons. For other content types like long form and live streams, views are equal to engaged views. For shorts uploaded on or after March 31st, 2025, you can use both regular views and engaged views in YT's advanced mode in Studio Web to see both shorts view metrics at the same time. Lastly, are there any changes to the YouTube Partner Program eligibility requirements? No. While we've updated how shorts views are counted to help creators understand the full reach of their videos, this does not change how creators qualify for the YouTube Partner Program. YouTube Partner Program eligibility will continue to count valid public shorts views. Valid public shorts views are public, engaged views reviewed for additional eligibility checks already in place today. This means you'll still need 3 million valid public shorts views in the last 90 days if you're applying for earlier access to the program, or 10 million valid public shorts views in the last 90 days for access to ads revenue sharing. For information on additional requirements, visit our Help Center.
Okay, that's going to do it for the news portion. After the rap song, I'm going to do Wednesday Waffle. So if you're interested in hearing me talk about another topic, you can listen after the music.
I'm not yet a member of the Instagram team, but my podcast covers many Instagram themes. But the name, image, logos are trademarks at Instagram and the LCC in the USA and every territory. Everything I publish independently until Zuck returns my DMs and starts to pay my salary. Not sponsored or endorsed, no lies, no fallacies. I use their logo with permission, not malicious or callously. No trademark violation, filling all criteria. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Daniel Hill Media.
Oh, hey, thanks for listening to me talk about a different topic than social media news. I have an idea for a creative project where I would make GIFs of all of my friends and make them publicly available. I have created GIFs for myself in the past and loaded them into Giphy. And then when someone searches for a GIF or GIF, they can find that. They could just type Daniel Hill Media and they'll come across my GIF. However, I have noticed that that only works on Android or in Instagram. If you want a GIF to be seen and it's on iPhone, I have no idea where those GIFs come from. If you were to open up iMessage and you were to select the GIF button and then type in, for instance, Daniel Hill Media to find the GIFs that I made, they would not be there. Where do iPhone GIFs come from? I would very much like to know the answer to that question so that I can create GIFs for my friends and put them on there and they'll be available everywhere. That's my idea. If you know where the iPhone source for GIFs is, could you please send me a direct message at Daniel Hill Media? If you think it's Giphy, open your iPhone to iMessage, search for Daniel Hill Media, and see if my GIFs appear. Again, I'm not talking about in the Instagram app. I know where those come from, and I know where the Android ones come from. I just want to know where the iPhone ones come from. If you have any idea, please send me a direct message at Daniel Hill Media.